Hello, everyone. In this lecture, we are going to be talking about valuations and how to go about valuing another company or your own company. We're going to cover the following skills: market cap, revenue multiplier, and understanding valuation for equity. So, we'll move on. This is the very big caveat here. There are so many ways that one can go about valuing anything. So what we're going to be talking about is just the surface of how one would go about valuing a company. So let's get started. So I just wanted to give you this graphic to show you how there are so many ways that you can, value something. So if you want to, have a valuation for a home, right? So one way that you can value that company is, let's say somebody's asking $500,000 for this home. Well, you can then turn around and say, well, what if I purchased the land and built the home? Would that be less than $500,000? Right, so that's so you can say that $500,000, if you find that it's less, you can say, well, that's that house is overpriced for $500,000. The other way of going about making a valuation for home is you look at the prices in the area. What has everything been going for? So if you're looking at homes in an area and one home is for $800,000, where on average every other home is $500,000. Well, that's something to look into. Why is that house worth so much more than the others? And then another way that you can value property is, what is that property worth and what is somebody willing to pay to live there, right? The future rent value. And that's just another way that you can go to value something. So when you're valuing a public company, there are, again, various ways that one can go about valuing a company to determine its worth. Let's say you're one company and you want to purchase another company. There are tons and tons of ways that one can go about doing this. So I'm going to provide you with just two very simple and basic examples. There's a lot more that goes into it, but I just wanted to give you the base of it. So the first is market capitalization, which is the stock price multiplied by the number of shares outstanding. And then there's the multiplier of revenue. It's taking streams of revenue over time and applying a multiplier, basically saying, well, this has been my revenue, but we're worth 10 times more than that. And sometimes the multiplier is driven by the industry or the company size. Sometimes revenue is not used, sometimes it's net profit that's used. Again, various different ways of valuing a public company. So let's look at Intel and IBM, right? So last that I checked, well, actually this was from the year ending 2020 for these companies. So for Intel, their stock price was at $53.51, and they had over 4 billion shares outstanding. And for IBM, while they had a higher stock price, they had less shares outstanding. So when I multiply these by each other, these are my results. So if I wanted to go to Intel and say, hey, I want to purchase you, and I'm going to give you $225 billion for your company, they might say yes. Probably not, but you never know. And the same for IBM. So the revenue multiplier, some use, as I said, some use revenue, some use the operating income, some use the net profit. The multiplier can be industry specific, or it can be based on company size. So here we're looking at Intel and IBM. And the first part of this that you're looking at is the revenue multiplier using a single year of revenue, which is probably unheard of, but you never know. So for Intel, this is their revenue at the end of 2020, and I'm going to offer them 3 times their revenue. And for IBM, I'm going to offer them 3 times. So you can see what the valuation comes out to be. And all I'm doing is I'm taking the revenue, multiplying it by that multiplier. So now this revenue multiplier is a 3-year average of the revenues. So for Intel, using the 3 years, you can actually see that the revenue has gone down. Therefore, the valuation would be less. And for IBM, it has gone up using the 3-year average, and their valuation would be a bit more. So this is looking at all of these together. So if I'm IBM, I'm certainly not going to be I'm not going to want to be valued on my market capitalization, because I'm not really getting the best for my money here. And then I've got my multiplier. So these again are, very high level, simple ways of how you can go about valuing a company. And we've just gone over this market capitalization, which is stock price times number of shares outstanding. So what if you were looking for an investment for your company, right? So you have your own company, and let's say it's that company that you had worked on in module 1, and you want to expand it. But to do so, you don't have the money, so you want an investment. What would you ask for, right? Who knows? How much do you really need? You'd have to do your research on that. So if you ask for $250,000 in return for 10% equity, and I know this lingo sounds a bit familiar for any of you Shark Tank fans out there, what are you valuing your company at? And it's a very simple calculation. So if you do see this on the television shows, the calculation is the price divided by the percent. So if I'm asking you for $250,000 for 10% of my company, I'm basically telling you that my company is worth $2.5 million. And let's say, I say this to you and somebody says to me, well, I'll give you the 250,000, but for 25%. So you need to know, what does that mean? Well, that means that that counter offer is actually worth valuing your company at $1 million, which is a lot less than your 2.5 million, right? And then you want to find out how much of a percentage have they dropped my valuation. And to do so, you would take the new price that's been offered to you, which was the $1 million, minus your original price that you said 2.5 million that my company is worth, which equals a negative 1.5 million. And then I divide that by my original price and multiply that by 100 to get the percentage. So you're devaluing my company by 60%. I'm not sure if I really want to go for that. So if you're looking for an investment, you need to know what the value of your company is. And this can be based on past revenues using the multiplier. It can be based on future anticipated sales. And you need to know the amount of equity that you would be willing to give up in exchange for the investment. So here's an assumption. In the past 2 years, my company has sold some cool sunglasses that are for night use. So all those people who like to go out to the clubs and wear their shades, well, my sunglasses are pretty cool because they're dark on the outside, but when I look through them, I see you as if the lights are on. And my revenue per item is $15. And in year 1, I sold 1,000 of these glasses. In year 2, I sold 3,500. In year 3, I sold 6,000. I sold 10,500 units at $15 per item. So my revenue so far to date is $157,500. Pretty cool. So now I want to open up a new factory, which will enable me to increase my revenue by 10 times. And I don't have the money, so I need an investor. So I'm going to say that I'm worth 10 times what I am now. So my multiplier is 10. So I take my 157,500 revenue that has already been earned, I multiply that by 10, and I'm saying that my company is worth $1.575 million. So if I said to an investor, a potential investor, I'm asking for $250,000 for 15% equity in my company, that means I'm valuing my company at 1.666 million. Not too far off, right? but I want to keep it there because I want some wiggle room in case somebody doesn't want to go for the 15%. So again, as I said, I'm going with the 15% because that gives me the wiggle room. If somebody comes back to me and they said, I'll give you 25%, well, they're valuing my company at $1 million. If they said 20%, they're valuing it at 1.250 million. So before we jump to the conclusion, so what would you do, right? Your company really isn't worth that 1.575 million because that's really just a guesstimate on your part, although you feel confident that you can get there. So it really depends, do you want to have an investor so that you can increase your business to get to the $1 million in revenue, or do you want to just sit back and just earn revenue through the way you've been making sales thus far? So in conclusion, remember, when valuing a company, there are so many different ways that you can go about valuing a company, and we've gone through 2 very high level ways that you can do so, through market cap and a revenue multiplier. And if you are valuing your own company and you want to go to somebody and you're looking for an investment, the valuation is divided by the percentage of the equity that you are willing to give up for your company.